Kia ora and welcome to another episode of Rural New Zealand. I'm your host Scotty and join me as we check out what's happening throughout Canterbury. On this week's episode, we meet a cropping farmer who is using good techniques with his winter grazing. I talk to Doug from Rural Support with some helpful advice. A mystical unicorn sheep gets spotted in the Canterbury Plains. But first we're off to Timaru where we meet the Carrfields grain and seed team behind the 2015 barley world record.
My name's Philip Smith, I'm the CLC Product Manager for Carrfields Grain and Seed. My day-to-day role is introducing new varieties and maintaining the varieties that we have in our stable at the moment. But it's involving working with breeders in the UK and Europe, England, France and Germany, going and seeing their germplasm, finding anything that may be suitable for the New Zealand market, then bringing it out to New Zealand in our conditions, trialling it on small strip trials, then extending it into larger field trials. And when we find a place and an opportunity for a specific need or a variety which we think can benefit our growers, we modify it and introduce it into the New Zealand market. The exclusive grain group is part of our business with Carrfields and growers and John Blackman, our breeder in UK. So there's nothing exclusive about the members who actually join that group. It's basically the exclusive arrangement where the grower has access to John Blackman and his material. So what we do is that once we trial, and we have two trialling sites in North Canterbury and South Canterbury, and once we find a variety which we think has got a place in the market in New Zealand, we trial it, bring it into their farms and then sort of produce a variety or a product which suits each growers and each different growing situations. John has been probably breeding in New Zealand for over 20 years. Alternates between us obviously here and back in the UK. So everything we have here has been trialled in New Zealand and bred in New Zealand for over a long period of time. So anything that isn't suitable for us is weeded out quite early, and everything that we do bring to the market we know has got a place and has been proven here in New Zealand.
How many growers do you have throughout the country?
At the moment the group is running around 90 members. As I say, that's spread from North Canterbury right down to Southland. We have a couple of people we're starting to trial in the North Island, which is quite small at the moment, but the majority are in mid-south North Canterbury, and also have a group in Southland. John is an amazing man. He's probably one of the only breeders, I think, to my knowledge, who actually has bred a world record wheat and barley. It's very rare if somebody can do that. And so John bred this variety, selected in New Zealand probably 6 years ago, and it was trialled mainly in North Canterbury, and then we introduced it to New Zealand. It's specific to New Zealand. The variety isn't registered in the UK or Europe. Although it's got some material from UK, it's only bred in New Zealand. So it is a specific variety, winter barley, that performs extremely well in New Zealand. It has specific growing characteristics which the growers are educated, and we take them through step by step with John's input on each growing stage, planting, plant numbers, plant health, insecticides, fungicides, growth regulators and nitrogen use to maximise the potential what this specific variety can do.
But leading up to it, there was quite a number of years planning went into it. It just doesn't happen overnight. It basically starts with our cultivation techniques, what we do with our residues, and then the previous years to that we were getting quite substantial yields with that variety of 776, so that's when we decided we'd have a look and see if we can, or if there was a barley record. There was, so that's when we decided we were going to have a go with it. But there's a lot in it. It's just not a matter of just going out and picking a paddock and going for it. You've got to follow guidelines, and you've also got to strike the right year to do the attempt. Sort of leading all into it, and then selecting the variety that we used, the 776, from the exclusive grain group and Canterbury Seeds in those days, now Carrfields, and then getting other people on board to advise us with our agronomy, specialists in every field relating to the growing of the crop, right through to the harvesting equipment at the end of it all. Getting all that together, and the perfect season we got there. We're coming up for the European harvest. What's happening over there I'm not too sure. but I guess I would say within a year or two in here in New Zealand there'll be other people or other farmers will have a crack at the attempt the record. With what we've learnt from the record, we're now trying to increase our yields on our commercial crop, and I think we are on a rising plane with our yields there. But I feel within a year or two that even our commercial crop, plus the new agronomy techniques, new breed varieties coming through, I think that our record will be quite easily broken. Our record was 13.8 tonne. I can see within 5 years that 14.5, 15 tonne is quite achievable within our barleys.
Canterbury seed's been around for well over 100 years, based in the Canterbury Plains, and our transition into a new branding of Carrfields Grain and Seed gives us the ability to work over the whole of New Zealand. We have a availability of cereal varieties, grasses, pastoral varieties, which we can distribute over the whole of the country. Exclusive Grain Group, based in the Canterbury region, is a source of variety, especially bred for the New Zealand environment from our breeders from England, and they're varieties which we've certainly seen work well in regards to yield and suitability. And it's not just the varieties that are offered here, but it's also the technical expertise given by our arable specialists throughout the region, which monitor these crops throughout the whole growing phase, and mean that we can get the best potential out of those crops going forward.
The grain industry obviously has its ups and downs, and we're probably slight down at the moment, but the only way we can actually make this more profitable for our farmers is to have a variety and a species which perform well and maybe can produce high yields with relatively low inputs. So that's our main goal all the time, is striving to get a variety which can maximise yield and also limiting input. So anything which is susceptible to disease or insects obviously doesn't make the grade. So we're always looking for something out of our nurseries and trials that can maintain a high yield with relatively low inputs to maximise the return to our farmers. And I think with this exclusive program, we can select these varieties and bring them very quickly to our farmers in New Zealand is the real massive advantage of the E group, where we're not waiting for a long breeding program or multiplication program to get a variety there. If we see something we like, we can multiply it amongst ourselves very quickly and get it out and show it to our growers and get it out there as quick as we can.
With summer just around the corner and you need seed, I think Carrfields are the people to talk to. Now after the break, stay tuned because we're down with a cropping farmer in Mayfield. Welcome back to rural New Zealand. In the cold winter months, pasture pugging can be a real pain in the grass, but we met a farmer in Mayfield who was grazing his paddocks the correct way.
My name's Brent Austin. I'm mixed cropping farmer here at Lismore in mid-Canterbury. We are about 530 hectares in 3 different blocks. The main block I'm 5th generation farmer on, so we've been there since 1901.
You choose to use lighter stock for grazing, why's that?
Yes, the last 4 or 5 years we've got rising 2-year-old heifer cows in for the month of May, when they come off their grazing at the start of May and before winter grazing 1st of June. So yeah, that works really well for us. They're a smaller animal, not as heavy. They don't do as much damage to the soil. We're on quite heavy soils here, so they can do a lot of damage. And that month of May is generally drier as well, so you don't get the rain and the pugging and the other issues. And for some of our crops, our grass seed crops, it's a good management tool to have those animals there to eat it at that particular time, so it works well for everyone.
And what crops have you chosen to graze for the winter?
We use oats mainly because it's a quick growing crop that you can get in easily after a cereal, and it grows, and it normally, once it's eaten, it normally actually doesn't regrow. The paddock we're in now that regrow because the cattle moved across it quite quickly. There was a large number of animals and not a particular large amount of feed, but it's worked well that it's regrowing and it's now absorbing nitrogen that could be leached if we'd had some rain this winter, which we haven't really. Yes, so oats is one. It works in well with the other crops that we grow. It doesn't cause contamination issues with the seed lines we grow. The other crop that they graze is coxford grass, which we keep in the ground for multiple years. So at that time of the year in May, it needs to be eaten off down to a certain level, so then it can regrow and go to seed. So it works well. We do usually back fence if we can, depending on where the water source is for the cattle. Some of our own cattle that we've got, and we are grazing some sheep at the moment, we are back fencing those animals. Again, in relation to water, as long as we can keep water to them via trough or water ice, then yes, we will do it if we can do it. In terms of the nutrients, this year we put in oats into anything that wasn't, any ground that wasn't, we weren't sowing in an autumn crop. So we made sure that we had something growing in every paddock. We've found out that our most vulnerable time for leaching nitrogen is the April-May period, where we don't tend to have anything growing or very little growing in most of our paddocks. So and also the rest of the winter as well. If you have a wet winter and you've got nothing growing, then there's nothing to absorb the nitrogen, so it just gets washed out the bottom. In terms of other crops that we grow for nutrients, we've grown beans before, faba beans. They fix nitrogen, so they're quite a good one. Peas is another one. They will fix nitrogen, and you normally end up with quite a good crop of wheat after peas. We don't tend to plant anything specifically for putting in nitrogen into the soil, but it's more planting lots of these oats to not let the nitrogen go out the bottom. We've paid to put it on the top, so why let it go out the bottom? It's just wasting money, the way I see it anyway.
It's great to see a farmer using simple techniques to get the most out of his pasture. Now stay tuned, because after the break on Rural New Zealand, we talk to Doug from Rural Support and we find a unicorn sheep. Welcome back to Rural New Zealand. Rural Support are a big part of the community nowadays, and I managed to catch up with Doug, who was in charge of the North Canterbury region. So Doug, how's the Rural Support program going so far this year?
Well, it's actually going pretty well. It's been a very busy year for us, starting back in January when there was actually quite a bit of rain in North Canterbury, and a lot of perhaps younger farmers thought that the drought might be over, but some of us older people know that a drought has never actually been broken with the rain in January. And the irony was, when the minister visited in January, he actually had gumboots on, would you believe, when he visited a farm in the Weka Pass. And since then, the Trust has been busy. We've put on a whole lot of functions. Probably one of the highlights was a day called Fill Your Cup, put on for 350 women in Amberley, and the star of that show was Annabelle White, sometimes known as the Cuddly Cook, and that was absolutely a roaring success. We had lunch for 350 women. The Rural Support Trust was heavily involved, and there was probably 3 or 4 men there, including the Mayor and I, and we were totally at the mercy of this Annabelle White. She made an absolute fool of us, but in a nice way, and everyone had a really great day. So the Trust is really concentrating its efforts on community events, getting people off the farm, keeping communities together, and we've got some pretty exciting things coming up. We've got a mystery trip next Tuesday.
And on the Tuesday afternoon, they had a motivational speaker. And it was cool to have Mark Ingalls give them a motivational speak.
Yeah, wasn't he fantastic? I mean, courage, determination and motivation. He just had a totally different spin on all that sort of thing, which I think for the farmers it was good to, because he lives in our community too. He lives in Hamner, and for them to see what he has gone through and know that there is another option sometimes, and sometimes, you know, it must be hard staying up when they just look over this barren land all day, you know, and they're all in different situations too, whether they're beef or dairy farmers or sheep farmers. So yeah, it was good for him to be there.
We're also dealing obviously with some farmers that we need to spend time with that have trouble coping, and we do some of that work. We tend to work under the radar a bit, and we've got people all around North Canterbury who sort of are our eyes and ears, and they are on the lookout for that sort of thing. So we're basically totally a people-orientated organisation, and we pride ourselves on being able to keep a really close eye on the health of the community.
So if people are feeling down there, you guys are the people to get in touch with?
There certainly are. We've got a 0800 number which everyone knows, but I'll just repeat it. It's 0800 787 254. And that will be answered by somebody with an affinity for farming who understands, and if the problem is beyond something that we can deal with, we are able to refer people on to the appropriate person who can help them.
In the future for rural support, how are we sort of tracking? I mean, there's still dry pastures out there, but...
Well, yeah, that's right, Scotty. Probably the next big thing for the Rural Support Trust is how we're going to use the $600,000 that is coming to rural mental health, and that is being distributed by MPI through Rural Support Trusts. So we'll be using that money probably in our trust to maybe train more people who are able to go out and give emotional support to farmers. To run maybe training sessions for the likes of stock agents, vets, bankers, accountants, so that the people who are actually dealing at the coalface with farmers are able to pick up signs of stress and depression, and make sure that nobody slips through the cracks. But certainly our work is going to be ongoing, and it has been a bit of a stretch for us, and one of the downsides of that is that we haven't really been able to focus on strategic issues. We've sort of been busy fighting fires, if you like. So we've got a meeting tomorrow where we've got 8 trustees, and we're looking at those sort of issues, longer term, big picture issues that are really important, looking down the track a bit.
Is it good to have the government still supporting you?
Well, of course, and I think the thing that people want to remember is that it's not so much the financial report, it is the fact that Nathan Guy has actually been to North Canterbury 5 times in the last 18 months, and the fact that he comes, and Joe Goodhue has been here, actually showing some empathy is what farmers really appreciate. The money, of course, is a bit of a bonus, and that allows us to, do stuff out there, which we've been doing.
Now, if you're at home and you are concerned, please do give Rural Support a phone call. They'll be more than happy to help. Now, we've met some creatures in our time, but we saw a mystical beast out in the Canterbury Plains. After a tip-off about a mythical unicorn spotted on the Canterbury Plains, I tracked the beast to Rolleston and stalked out a place. After a long wait, I was ready to give up, but then... However, it wasn't quite what I expected. A uni sheep? Yep, that's right, a horny sheep. I had to get to the bottom of this. Was it real, or were they trying to pull the wool over my eyes?
My wife Julie there found it while we were scanning one day. It's a Perindale. Yeah, I come from the west coast there last year.
That really sums up everything, doesn't it?
It didn't come wearing gumboots though.
The condition is known as cutaneous horn, an unusual skin tumour, but are often benign.
Yeah, drafter talked to him the other day and he said that he's seen 2 in his lifetime, so it's not totally rare, but it's not that common really either. It's just like a hard bit of horn that's grown in the wrong place. Well, we'll mark it and just check on it, especially during lambing time, just to see. It's meant to have twins, and just to see what they turn out like, I guess.
More horny sheep.
Some horny sheep, you never know.
You'll be pleased to know that the twins are likely to be uninfected by this. Oh, I believe that the sheep could even attain shriek status and go worldwide. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, because Shrek's passed away, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's long gone now. So.
Yes, so we could have the new variety.
So how's your life going as a superstar?
It could actually even go on the new flag.
Well, that's it.
It's better than a laser shooting kiwi.
We got a good yarn to bar about in the pub, so we figured it was only right to release the rare Canterbury uni sheep to live the only way uni sheep should. Wild and free-ish in a paddock. Thanks for watching us today on Rural New Zealand. I certainly hope you enjoyed the show. Just remember to like us on Facebook, and if you have missed an episode, you can watch it on demand. Join us next week as we tag along with Allied Petroleum as they deliver fuel to mid-Canterbury. We'll see you guys then.